For today's Tracks and Trails, I am in the Cooley Mountains in County Louth, and I am really excited because although this is mountainous terrain, it is my favourite type of walk because this area has such a rich history and also a very rich mythology associated with it. Now I'm going to meet a guest today who I've been dying to meet for a long time, and I've no doubt about it, but that he'll shorten the road for me because he's a journalist and a broadcaster, so there'll be no shortage of good stories. The Cooley Mountains rise up out of the Cooley Peninsula and Carlingford Lough in the northeast corner of County Louth. At the heart of the mountain range stands the Sliabh Foy, the highest peak here. This is a place steeped in myth and music, where Irish folklore and tradition are woven into every peak, valley and field. The route traces the footsteps of heroes from Ireland's ancient epic Tain Way. Here, stories of Coillte and the Fianna echo through the fields, and legend tells us that these slopes are the mythical birthplace of hurling. I'm meeting journalist and broadcaster Anton Savage. Anton spent his childhood here in the Coolies, and he carries with him a deep connection to this landscape and its stories. Hello, Anton, how are you?
I'm very good, Doireann. How are you?
Great.
Welcome to God's country.
Well, John, I'm delighted to be here because it's kind of sacred land. We're going to walk the Tain Way.
That's right, we are literally in the footsteps of Coillte and, according to people in Louth, the birthplace of hurling.
OK, well, how are you with hurling and schlitter?
Well, I could be better.
OK, right, well...
You can teach me as we walk.
Absolutely.
Nothing makes Kilkenny quake in its boots like the word loud.
Today's route follows the Tain Way. Starting at Coiltte's Ravensdale Woods, the trail winds gently upwards before emerging into the open mountains. The path then climbs across the Cooley's mountain range before descending towards Omeath through some atmospheric landscapes. The walk totals a stretch of 13 kilometres.
Yeah, so the home of hurling, theoretically, because Coillte walked these paths pucking a slither in front of him to keep himself entertained.
Oh wow, OK. Well, that's a new one for me because I suppose I would be a big Munster hurling supporter. So I wonder what they'd have to say about that down in Thurles.
Well, I think they'd have to say that Louth is no longer quite the threat it once was.
Now, I have to say I love walking in forests because I just feel, you know, it's escape from reality and it's nearly like you're kind of going back in time, you know?
It is, yeah. Well, particularly here you sort of are. I mean, this was the estate of a man called Thomas Fortescue, and he ultimately became Lord Clermont, and he was the biggest single landowner in Louth, 20,000 acres of land. Even though it now feels very wild, this is his private garden.
Isn't that amazing?
Good work if you can get it.
Yeah.
Still towards middle of the famine, gave each of his tenants £1 and a ticket to America to clear the lands because he wanted it for bullocks.
Sad, isn't it?
It is. One of the tenants was quoted as saying, "I left my lime, my mountain and my land for his lordship."
Oh, this is lovely.
Yeah, this is the one of the sort of the leftovers of the estate time. This is the bridge across one of the tributaries of the Flurry. And it's a sort of a leftover. I mean, again, this was the Fortescues, the Clermonts building all of this, and at the time, a symbol of wealth and exclusion of the local populace, and now something that's here for everybody to use.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? But I find it so funny with areas like this, you know, the whole history of plantation and obviously the history of the landlords. The oral tradition is so important and has been so important for people to hold on to their identity, kind of reshape the narrative a bit.
Oh yeah, nowhere more than here. I mean, the oral tradition here is several thousand years old. I mean, as we go up towards Sliabh Foy and Clermont Cairn, there's some of the best myth, some of the most famous myth in the country around those parts.
Okay, so tell me about the stone circle. Have you got any info on it?
Yeah, oh yeah, this is a prehistoric Neolithic stone circle. At least that's what Lord Clermont wanted everybody to believe. It was the sort of Victorian thing of, I like a folly. So the belief is that he had this installed. He also had a dolmen installed. Now, he then maintained they were both genuine. Everybody believes the workers on the estate put them in.
Right.
Yeah. Thankfully, there is a real dolmen nearby, the Proleak, which is great. So it was sort of a Victorian thing where I think if you had a big estate, you wanted to have little points of interest and you built follies. A lot of the rich at the time would admit that it was a folly, but Thomas Fortescue decided that he'd pull a fast one and pretend it was real.
I have serious trust issues here now. I'm going to be so suspicious anytime I see a stone circle again.
Don't worry, we're neck deep in souterrains and real cairns and Neolithic burial tombs and Bronze Age ring forts. And as you'll see as we go up the mountain, Clermont Cairn is a burial cairn from about 4,500 BC. So there's lots of the real stuff.
Okay, we're spoiled for choice.
After about 4 kilometres on this route, the trail emerges from the forest and heads upwards towards Clermont Cairn, which is a high point on this walk.
Yeah, I'll do the chivalry is not dead thing
Oh,
after you.
Gurmagat.
Clermont Cairn, also known as Black Mountain, is the highest point in this walk, rising to 510 metres, providing stunning 360-degree views of the surrounding areas. This part of Ireland runs alongside the north-south border and is also home to the Clermont Mast, which during the Troubles found itself at the centre of political controversy.
When this went in, the logic when RTE put it in, now 40 or 50 years ago, was that it was going to reach Louth and Meath. But of course, we're on an international border, and that meant that the signal broadcast deep into Northern Ireland, which was seen as a controversial move and a deliberate attempt to push Republican culture ideals, or at least Southern culture and ideals, into Northern Ireland. I remember a friend of mine years ago telling me that there was a time in the north where you could tell nationalist households by which direction the antenna was pointing the TV aerial if it was aimed to pick up Clermont transmitter.
There you go. Wow.
And also, the dividend of peace. There was a time when you'd be standing up here and what you're looking at was British Army outposts on the hills and helicopters flying above them. To see all of that gone and to see it just a natural landscape, it's something we shouldn't take for granted.
When walking in Ireland, we have to be prepared for all sorts of weather and quick changes. On this walk, like so many walks across the country, the weather adds its own touch of character.
So what's your relationship with walking like?
I have a weird thing for logistics. I'd like to spend 3 or 4 days planning how to fill a backpack, what tent to take, what food to take, whether you're going to do a fire, whether you're going to bring a butane can, all that. I love logistics. So somewhere like this, I'd be looking, thinking, I wonder is there somewhere you could wild camp rather than just do the day walk.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, we're two very different beasts now, because I like to go out for a walk, but by God, I like my creature comforts after then.
Oh yeah, but there's nothing better than the misery of a freezing cold night of camping, and then you get home the next day and have a bath. It's great.
I'm gonna have to take your word for that one. This is absolutely stunning.
Isn't it amazing? And when you've Omeath down here, and then this is Schlieffoy, and over the far side of Schlieffoy, you've got Carlingford. But one of my favourite stories from here is Omeath back in the 1700s had a roaring herring fishery. So you would have had about 300-400 fishermen down there, all men doing the fishing. The women were responsible for selling the fish. And they'd load up wicker creels on their back with herring and seaweed, each of them weighing 2 stone. Walk it from Omeath up here, through Greenon, up this path, which is called the Cadger's Path, up across the mountain and then down into the market in Dundalk. 2 stone of herring on their back and then back the same day from having sold it.
Can you imagine it?
Amazing, isn't it?
And of course, that was a Coillte area, so it would have all been Irish that they were speaking, and a really strong Coillte region here, you know, that only died out really the first half of the 20th century.
That's right, and a very unique Southeast Ulster Irish that was a unique dialect of the area. I think 1933 was the last of the exclusive Irish speakers.
There you go. What do you think? We'll have to revive it. We'll make a Gaeilgeoir review yet.
That may require some effort.
The last 4 kilometres of the walk descend towards our final destination of Omeath village, but not without giving us a few more stories and some more interesting history.
Okay, so where are we heading to now?
Well, we're heading down there to Omeath. We're almost off the mountain at this stage. And there's an interesting thing between us and Omeath, which is these fields, because the field design like this, because they're long, thin strips, it always looks wild illogical. Like, why wouldn't you make them square? As far as I know, this is, I think it's called the Rundale field system. And the idea is by making them long and thin and going up the mountain, the top of the land is bad, the bottom is good, but then everybody gets a fair share of good land and bad land. And on top of that, what they would do is they would meet among the community and decide who has more needs than others. So if you have a big family, I have a small family, you'd get a larger field than I'd get. So very egalitarian, very fair, and a very clever way to share the good and the bad of the land together.
Isn't that incredible?
It's clever, isn't it?
Wow, we could learn a lot from them.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a sort of a traditional thing that it was one of the things that the landlords wanted to get rid of because it's very difficult to tax. Because how do you tax unevenly spaced fields? How do you tax fields that might be worked by 5 people or by 2 people? So they wanted to eradicate it and normalise it, but it was the traditional way of splitting up the land fairly.
Okay, so we're nearly at the finish line, and I have to say this was such an enjoyable walk. For me, the height and just the mystery of it all was definitely the highlight, but I want to know what your highlight was from today.
I suppose it's that. It's also, I mean, just over there, the Cadger's pad, I love the notion of women loading up creels and hiking but a dozen miles over the mountain into Dundalk. Like the sheer grit and determination. I mean, that's what this place is full of, is that sort of history of millennia of peoples living here.
I think so, and holding on to their identity.
I'm glad you liked it. Better than Leitrim?